This is the moment gunshots ring out at a high school hockey game in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Police identifying the shooter as 56-year-old Robert Dorgan, who also went by the name Roberta.
Every single person who identifies or claims to be transgender needs to be classified as having a mental illness. That's the only solution. This is obviously a story right now. It's a story that's it's everywhere in the news, and for good reason. Yesterday in Rhode Island, the tally of trans shooters increased to 8 since 2018, and 2 within the last week. Yeah. 2 within the last week. So that's the new tally. Has nothing to do with trans, though.
No.
Now, let me go through those for those of you who missed it. References available, link in the description. 2018, Aberdeen, trans shooter killed 4. 2019, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, trans shooter killed 1, injured 4. Colorado Springs in 2022, the non-binary shooter, I include it. A lot of these other stats don't. Killed 5 at a gay nightclub. 2023, Nashville, of course, you remember Audrey Hale, Covenant School. 2024, Perry, Iowa, gender fluid shooter, killed 1, injured 5 at a high school. 2025, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the trans shooter killed 2, injured 29 at Annunciation Church. And then this is 2026, Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, the trans shooter killed 8, injured 25. At home, and of course at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. And now you can add to that list. Now, this technically wouldn't be a mass shooting, but I'm going to include it as relevant because the left does it. They massage these numbers anyway. This brings us to Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
This is the moment gunshots ring out at a high school hockey game in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Student athletes and people in the stands fleeing for safety.
It was a bang. I thought it was a pops. I thought it was balloons at first, but it was not balloons.
In the end, 2 victims and the suspected shooter were dead. 3 others were left in critical condition. Police say a brave bystander was able to subdue the gunman and prevent even more bloodshed.
A good Samaritan stepped in and interjected in this scene, and that's probably what led to a swift end of this tragic event.
Police identifying the shooter as 56-year-old Robert Dorgan, who also went by the name Roberta.
Right. So a couple of things here. I'm going to get to who this person is, what we actually know, dispel maybe some of the fake news out there. This, I guess, would fall under the reverse nirvana fallacy, where people on the left would say, "Well, we haven't had a huge number of trans shooters, or anything like that. We haven't had a bunch of men in women's sports." That used to be in the Change My Mind in 2016. It's like, well, okay, just because this hasn't been the norm yet, you are assuming that it'll all be great. We're looking at warning signs and saying, "Oh, considering the comorbidities, considering the domestic violence rates, considering the suicidal ideation and attempts at suicide that are seen nowhere else in nature, maybe these people are showing us some warning signs as to mental instability, and we don't actually want to accelerate it." And now we are seeing these acts of mass violence occur at a very rapidly accelerating rate. It's hard to find empirical data on that because the powers that be don't want you to. So first, who is this man? Robert Dorgan also goes by Roberta Dorgan. So Roberta Dorgan.
It's pretty lazy.
Not to be confused with Roberta Dorgan, noted boxer of the infamous No Cox debacle fight. It was shameful for the people of Panama. The family, there are enough people around who remember Roberto Duran. He's okay with it. The family says that the shooter targeted other members of his family and that, surprise, had mental health issues. I'm not sure if they sort of uncouple the mental health issues, like had mental health issues aside from being, trans and believing that he was something that he couldn't possibly be. I'm not sure, but this is how it was described.
My father was a shooter.
What happened?
He shot my family, and he's dead now.
This woman leaving the police station, speaking with reporters, saying her father was the one who opened fire inside of the hockey rink.
He has mental health issues.
Any idea why he would have done this?
He's sick. He's very sick.
Yeah, clearly.
Yes.
And this has been going on for a while. So 2019, 2020, Dorgan underwent gender reassignment surgery. Yeah. The father-in-law threatened to kick him out of the home. He called him a slur, and he threatened to have him killed by an Asian street gang.
Wow, oddly specific.
But quickly changed his mind once he saw said Asian street gang. The Rady Boys are gonna rock 'em tonight.
I would have just pushed him over the
We're
edge.
gonna watch Roberto drop tonight. Now,
And our guest is back down.
it's funny that no, she won't.
I'm kidding.
It's funny that we have to say this, and there's an argument over this person being mentally disturbed. Now, the argument takes place over, like I said, if this person was mentally disturbed, regardless or in spite of this transgenderism. Once upon a time, you would have gone, well, here's a picture, so clearly mentally disturbed, right? Right?
You see how the lipstick's up the cheek? Yeah.
That's what it would have been. Look at this picture. See? This boy's sick. See? Sick in the head. See? That's what it would have been if James Cagney was the one presenting it. But let me just ask you, does this person look normal to you if you knew nothing else?
Goodbye, penis. Ooh, ooh. Goodbye, penis. Ooh, ooh. Goodbye, penis. I'm getting rid of you. Penis.
Sometimes in trying to avoid copyright, it turns out better than some of its parts. But what I also do find funny about this particularly disturbed transy is that they decided to do spreads that looked like an early 90s moto mag. Like that is their niche in front of the Lambo, in the female thong, in front of the motorcycle, right on the heels, by the way, of his upcoming motocross special on Disney+. For people on audio, you're missing out.
In none of those photos did he look like he was doing anything Latina.
No, he did not.
Yet his name is Roberta?
Yeah, I don't know.
Roberta.
I like the name.
It's a very manly name.
Say it loud that my penis is shrinking.
That's gone. Jeez.
Foundation Daily. All the daily vitamins and minerals you need, check. Clinical ingredients, check. At their clinically effective doses, check. And lab tested, so you know that what's on the label is exactly what you're getting. Foundation, fill in the gaps. Fill in the gaps that you might be missing. Go to foundationdaily.com today. Subscribe and save 40% for life. Help! Help! So let me
I could have
outline
gone the
here.
rest of my life without seeing him in a thong. Come on.
I know, but you didn't.
But yeah, but now you get that.
So, legacy media. Let's go to them. As of the time of this broadcast, or at least when we started, several outlets made no mention of the trans ideation here after it was well known, meaning it was reported everywhere else on new media, social media, and confirmed. So places that didn't mention it at all, because even though their job is to inform you, they didn't think this was pertinent information. The New York Times, CBS, Politico.
Jeez.
Since the identity has been revealed, there's been no mention from on social media. The Krasenstein brothers, Harry Sisson, Brooklyn Dad, David Hogg, Hassan Piker, no mention of it because it's not relevant. It's not relevant even though this is the second in a week. And this is a thing that matters too. I understand, it's not lost on me. I understand that there are domestic disputes. I understand, once upon a time, the expression going postal. Someone just had it and snapped. Those do happen. And sometimes they're a white male. That would be most common, you'd imagine, because it's the largest demographic in this country. The reason that it matters if it's an Islamic terror attack, or the reason that it matters if it involves a trans individual, is because these people have told you their ideology. You don't have to go through the detective work of figuring out the motivation when they tell you. There are plenty of outliers and there are plenty of single, incidents of violence. Those are probably more. They're probably more numerous because they happen more frequently. Heat of the moment, right? Passion crimes.
Yep.
But as far as ideologically motivated crimes, if there's a pattern, that is important information if your duty is to keep the public informed and safe. Does that make sense? You guys can comment below. And we'll be back tomorrow, as we are every day, 11 a.m. Eastern. Just tune in live. We still do this show live, and we can talk about it. Here is the Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee addressing this. Again, his job is to inform his citizens, make sure are there any other threats, what would keep you safe. Focused on gun violence, no mention of the outlying condition of the suspect.
Our state is grieving, again. As governor, a parent, and a former coach, my heart breaks for the victims, families, and everyone impacted by the devastating shooting at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket. I want to talk to the families out there right now. Too many Rhode Islanders know what it feels like to lose a loved one, a neighbor, or a friend to gun violence. And a tragedy like this is incredibly difficult for people of any age to process. Today, we are praying for Rhode Island and those who are suffering from this tragedy.
Well, good. You have all the need to knows. You can thank your governor. Rhode Islanders. Let's go through some of the claims that are out there right now and narratives that people are trying to champion. Here's the first narrative claim. He did it because of Nick Fuentes or Thomas Massey or Alex Jones or something. Here's the truth. He did it because he's a lunatic. And how do I know he's a lunatic? I've seen pictures.
That's enough.
Yeah.
But there's more.
Yeah, and here's something else. He may, by the way, be a fan of some right-wing commentators. I'm sure if you took all of the trans shooters, and there are many, if you took all of the violent trans people, some would like country, some would like hip-hop, they all like Cher. I'm sure you would see that. But that's not what unites them. You know what is most important? Well, the good news is you know what's most important because the left has defined it as gender identity. This person is a lunatic because of their identity. How is it described? Gender identity. You made it central to their identity, not us. It's not a preference. It's not just something they do in their off time. It's not a hobby. It's their central identity. You have nonprofits to preserving, protecting, and spreading said identity. That needs to be addressed before the podcast that he may or may not listen to. And also, it's misleading by itself. Let me give you this X conversation that involves those players who are being mentioned. So Kevin Sorbo posted this. He posted, Tim McBride is a man. Community note this if I'm wrong. Okay, about that person. You remember Tim McBride? The shooter, Roberta, as he likes to be called, wrote, keep bashing us, but do not wonder why we go berserk. And that also, by the way, stems from feminism, right? Yeah. It's not your fault. Someone made you feel, therefore, if you go berserk, well, that's on them. Then Alex Jones in the same thread referred to Sarah McBride as so creepy. The shooter said, shut the F up, Alex. Don't be so butthurt over somebody different. Then wonder why trans people go effing berserk. Seems to like that phrase.
Yeah, he loves the berserk element of it.
All caps.
Yeah. And so that, I would say, is a sign of instability. Also dressing in ladies' panties, also mutilating your body, also just before you get to this, like the buzzword out there is narcissist. That's what all these women will say, like, yeah, where are you in a relationship with a narcissist? And that means like if a guy combs his hair. How about a guy who gets off on people seeing him in a dress and he's willing to sacrifice his family? The left has said that's a virtue, by the way. Right. It goes back to feminism. It goes back to eat, pray, love. You can go, just leave your folks. Just leave abandon.
Your
so
children.
long as you're finding yourself spiritually across India, which, by the way, is bereft of any spirituality. They poop wherever it falls, to be clear. So now it's, hey, how I feel is more important. We mock things that used to be seen as virtues, right? It used to be like, hey, stay together for the kids. Then people go, oh, what? So we're supposed to stay together for the kids? Well, if the choice is that, or leaving and getting a sex change operation, and then living a life of complete depravity, why is it so silly for people to stay together for the kids? Why is the notion so silly of, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about me. That's how it used to be, under patriarchy. It's not about me. We're going to stay together for the kids. Okay, we'll have some twin beds and, we'll just keep this cordial if that's the best that you can do. 2, I don't like it, so I'm leaving. I'm going to follow my truth. And would we see this kind of mindset manifest itself in other statistical realities that tell us we are going the wrong direction? Well, let's look at the transgender whatever it is, domestic violence, the relationship stats. So 43% of those in trans relationships admitted perpetrating intimate partner violence.
Jeez.
Ooh, that seems pretty high.
That's a lot.
43%. That's higher than the false bill of goods that feminists sold you. Well, back in the day, men used to just come home and beat all their wives and nothing was done. It was never true. It was a small minority. That's where whipping post comes from, because it was never acceptable to beat women. There were men who did it. It was never acceptable. You didn't get a 43% rate.
That's admitting to perpetrating it.
That's admitting to
That's
it.
not admitting to being a victim of it, which you'd think would be higher.
You'd
like
think
you
would be
think
higher.
that number would be a lot lower for perpetrators. Like, hey, I didn't do that. But no, they willfully admit it.
I would wager that if 43% admitted it, probably more have done it.
Yes.
That's what, yeah, exactly.
Not everybody admits to their crimes, it appears.
Yeah, I smacked a bitch.
He deserved it.
Also, 42% of trans adults have attempted suicide. 81% have thought about suicide. 56% have engaged in non-suicidal self-injury. 31% have drug abuse or substance abuse problems. And again, the suicide or attempted suicide rates don't really get any better after having an operation.
Right.
Keep in mind, so that's because of the mistreatment. It's higher than, and I've been making this point for years, it's higher than Jews in Nazi concentration camps. It's higher than American slaves. It's higher than blacks under Jim Crow laws. You think they're treated more poorly? The only other place where you can find a rate that even approaches this, paranoid schizophrenics. And even then it's debatable.
And this isn't to make fun or to tease. This is concerning that medical professionals aren't allowed to practice medicine the proper way, and they're not allowed to give these people treatment. They're supposed to just go, yep, sure, affirm.
Yeah,
You're not
exactly.
crazy. Yep, a background check for a gun, totally fine. Go shoot up your family at an ice hockey rink.
Yeah. Anytime a guy is looking at doing something that's a little different, you look around to your friend group like, okay, is this acceptable? Can I wear this color shirt or something? It's pink. I don't know if my friends are going to mess with me. Something small like that. I want every trans person in America, when they look around to their friend group, they find loving people that tell them the truth that is not okay. Something is wrong. That is not who you are. I don't want them to find safe quarter, because then they end up like this person. Yeah. If they had somebody earlier on say, hey, look, this is not the way to go, instead of, hey, this is just how they feel. You got to let them go through this. Yeah. No, you don't.
Because it's not just their gender. They actually have a mental disorder.
I want every single person who comes out as one. This is the problem, too, with people on the right who go, well, you can do whatever you want as an adult. I have said that in individual interactions on, let's say an acquaintance basis, I'll use the name that you legally have, because at that point, I probably don't even know what your other name is. But I'm not going to act like you are the gender that you claim to be if you very clearly are not. I don't believe adults can do whatever they want to do so long as you stay away from kids, because I believe you have no leg to stand on. I believe, as everyone did up until the DSM-5, every single person who identifies or claims to be transgender needs to be classified as having a mental illness. That's the only solution.
And
that's
treat
it.
Some way, somehow.
And treat it the same way you would treat any other mental illness. You comment if you think that's too harsh. And by the way, doesn't mean that I hate you. I don't hate people who are bipolar. I don't hate people who are schizophrenic. I've known people. I don't hate people who are drug addicts. They're very hard to get along with, but I don't hate them. And I would be willing to try and help you get some assistance. I am not going along with this. I have not gone along with this. Yeah. We as a society need to declare trans mental illness. It's not allowed in public spaces. These are people who get a sexual thrill through being seen in ladies' clothing. This guy didn't even try, by the way.
No.
I'm sure this guy went from his cycle of steroids to, I'm a chick.
Yeah, and then he's wearing a lady's thong and a bra for some reason. What's the bra about?
Yeah.
What are you covering?
It's a little ambitious. This is where we are. This is where we are. There'll be more information that comes out. Hey, was it? I want to make sure I get these right so that they don't sue me. It was, was it CBS, Politico, New York Times? CBS, Politico, New York Times. No mention? None? Hey, maybe we can go in there and also see if they have write-ups about domestic violence in trans households and really in lesbian households. That's the only other place where it's really high. Maybe we can see if they write about the suicide rates. Maybe we can see if they write about the self-harm rates. Maybe we could see if these same places write about the comorbidity rates that you see with no other mental illness. Maybe they do that. I'm willing to bet that they don't.
You would think that the feminists and the left would be, all on board on these studies. Like, hey, we need to learn about this.
Yeah, you would think so. But they can't. And you'll get some women, the J.K. Rowlings, who go like, well, I guess I'm a TERF because you're taking over women's spaces. Yeah, but here's the thing. You need to go full conservative. Otherwise, you are of no value. Because guess what? To try and roll back the trans thing, but then continue with all the other feminist bullshit takes us nowhere. You bitch about patriarchy. It's what protected women from this. Because women cannot protect women from men. It's not a thing. That's why we had Me Too. That's why feminists complain about rape culture. And not in the same way regarding men. Women cannot protect women from men. Only men can. And men this entire time. Let's go through it. Every single piece of feminist messaging. Women's sexual liberation. You know what the dads are saying? Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't care if you have birth control. Don't do that. How's that working out for you? OnlyFans. Men going, wait a second, trans, hold on. I don't want them in women's spaces. Kicked out of the PTA meeting. Fired. Hate speech. You look at the voting block. Until it hit a little too close to home, the majority of women thought, it's fine. And even half of women thought, yeah, we can let them compete in sports. It doesn't affect anybody. Only when it negatively affects their feels. A woman cannot protect women from the transgender ideology any more than a woman can protect another woman from an angry 250-pound rapist on PCP. It's not possible. Patriarchy, as you define it, protected you from these animals. And I say that in no uncertain terms. The animals have to go back to where we house animals. Prisons, or mental institutions, until they are reformed and no longer animals. And it doesn't need to be a mass shooting. It doesn't need to be a shooting. It just needs to be something that violates basic foundational principles of our country, that women have the right to be protected from men. And it's men's job to do it. But by God, men are afraid to do it. Now, why? Well, because we've been told, sit down and shut up. If you want us to stand up for you, then guess what? You're going to have to acknowledge that there's only one person who can stand up for you. There's only one group who can. And you don't get to put them back on the shelf when you're no longer facing a threat. It's like having a pilot, having a plane in the hangar. You don't need it all the time, but when you need it, you need it. That's men. That's patriarchy. They're the ones who've been fighting this for a very long time. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.